Hello, and my name is Debo. This is another guide for a tank's perspective for Alexander Turn 4, The Arm of the Father. At the start of this fight, you want the main tank tanking the right foreleg, while the off tank simply picks up the aggro on the left foreleg. During the first phase, a blue marker will appear over a random target party member's head, which will signify that the orange spears that are about to spawn will be basically going towards their direction. These spears can simply be picked up by a main tank, off tank, or anybody just in general to detonate the attack from that member who's being targeted. Preferably you want to have the main tanks or off tank do this because especially on the main tank can usually take 2 while the off tank can pick up the remaining amount. This should be the primary focus inside of the first phase. But it's okay and totally acceptable a healer or a DPS can detonate maybe 1 to a maximum 2 spears at a time. But I highly recommend 1 orb per DPS/healer and 2 to 3 orbs per main tank or off tank depending on your HP and the healing capabilities of the party. Phase 2 begins after the right foreleg has been shattered, and you'll be allowed a short allotted time to put upon DPS on the manipulator. The major noteworthy mechanics in this phase is 1 adds a spawn that are called Jagged Dolls, and also the boss targeting individual party members with a triple laser beam attack that need to be mitigated by other people inside the party. The triple laser beam attack can be simply mitigated by a person standing in one of beams to deflect the damage for the target that it's intended. It is acceptable for tanks to take up to 2 beams, but it's not acceptable for DPS to take more than 1. So just make sure you prioritize blocking that beam and assisting with that, whether you're the main tank or the off tank. 3 Jagged Dolls will be spawning occasionally during this phase, 1 towards the left, towards the back middle, and to the back right. Your job as the main tank is simply to pick up the one that spawns closest next to the left foreleg. Hold that monster away from the other ones, and DPS them down. If any of the adds get too close to one another, they will explode and do massive amounts of AoE damage, so avoid this at all costs. If you are the off tank in this fight, periodically the boss will take you and 1 random DPS into a room with 1 single monster. All you simply need to do is tank this monster, allow the DPS to kill it immediately, and you guys will be ported out of the room back into the fray of the fight with everyone else. The final phase will start when both forelegs are shattered. You will be giving a short amount of time to put as much DPS on the manipulator as possible before the boss does a massive AoE wide damage hitting attack. For the last phase of the fight, it's very straightforward and really simple. This is by far the easiest mechanic that tanks have to deal with throughout all the Alexander raid encounters you've had so far. Discord is a spell that is cast by the boss, which after that a massive amounts of damage will influx onto the tank. As long as you pop a cooldown such as Sentinel or Rampart for example for a Paladin and maybe into Hollow Ground, you'll have no problem surviving the attack. At a certain point when you run out of your major cooldowns, I advise for the off tank to taunt off you if you're the main tank so he can go ahead and use up his cooldowns to mitigate the boss. Everything outside of that, outside of occasionally there's a giant laser beam that focuses on one specific person which you just have to run away from, this predominantly part of the fight relies upon the DPS successfully doing a good amount of damage to basically end the fight quickly, and the healers resolve to avoid and deal with their mechanics as well as keep everybody healed. So as long as you're mitigating the triple laser beam attacks, avoiding AoE damage on the floor, tank swapping once one tank uses all its cooldowns, that's pretty much all you can do. Assisting with like a heal like with the Paladin set with Clemency or using Divine Shield might definitely help, but in terms of what tanks need to do in this last phase, we pretty much do what we've been doing the last 2 phases. Mitigate potential damage to the party, and just making sure that we stay alive and proper use of our mitigation cooldowns. The fight is a little bit of a strain for the DPS and more specifically the healers. I felt like this fight overall was more of a heal check. So as long as everybody is just not taking needless amounts of damage, the tanks are assisting with mitigating the damage on certain players, then you really have nothing to worry about. Congratulations on your clear of the 4th turn of Alexander, the burden of the father. As always, my name is Debo and I appreciate you guys watching my videos, and I hope you guys have a good day.
No escape, from this waking dream, no hope for advance. You see, mortal core is serving up for the spring. Unwind, too slow, too quick, too much to believe. You fail the test, ever forging all new fantasies, creating a mess direct through this brick machine with